Perfect. It is already going through the Zoom. Okay, okay, perfect. Okay, perfect. So good afternoon, everybody. So we are now starting with the parallel session after the coffee tea break. So the first talk will be Nikita Matjanpal. Yes, good. From the OED office, and the talk will be about data science exposure through the hackathons. So thank you. You have 12 minutes, then 2-3 minutes left for the question.
Thanks, Marjana. Okay. Well, I can barely see over this podium. I think the people on Zoom can see me better than you can. Okay, afternoon, everyone. I'm a big data fellow at the OAD, and I'm going to tell you about the hackathon program that we run. Is that not the arrow? Oh, okay, cool. All right, so yeah, the SK telescope, it's acknowledged that once it's complete, will be one of the biggest big data machines globally. And therefore, this requires innovative solutions to big data problems and the relevant technical skills. And this is obviously driven, has resulted in a drive for capacity development in this field, as well as, just the skills development in data science in general, and has resulted in programs like Dara Big Data, which I'll introduce just now. So data science skills development in Africa. Well, it's crucial to allow for African participation in the technological advances of the resulting from the Fourth Industrial Revolution, as well as a data science research community in Africa will allow for African researchers to form data-driven solutions to Africa's most pressing development needs in health, food security, climate change, for example. But at the moment, Africa lacks coordinated tertiary education in the field. And you find actually that there's a huge, we find that there's a huge need amongst a lot of the youth in Africa from STEM fields, various fields like from mathematics, biology, economics, or even outside of STEM, who are looking to upskill with data science and so that they can access other opportunities, data analytics, machine learning, those kinds of jobs and internships, etc. So just before I go into the program, it's a collaboration with these different partners, the Office of Astronomy for Development, Sereo, IDEA, who also provides access to the Research Cloud facility for the purpose of the hackathons, and then Dara Big Data. I think you heard Malvin speak about Dara yesterday. So Dara Big Data is the sister project, and they are funded jointly by the UK Newton Fund and the DSI in South Africa. These are just some of the team members from Dara Big Data, IDEA, and the OAD. Okay, so the main objectives are to share these skills that are commonly used in astronomy, these transferable skills like data science and machine learning, and also to showcase how these skills can be used to solve development related problems. And also among the participants to develop their soft skills that are often needed in both academia and in industry. So the gist of these hackathons is to provide exposure to data science and machine learning by having participants work on projects from astronomy and development-related projects that make use of real-world data. And we target postgraduate students and young professionals in STEM fields who have a keen interest in data science, but who have not had or aren't sure how to go about accessing or where they start or accessing these these skills or knowledge about in this field, and who are looking to upskill so that they can just apply for different opportunities that exist, such as deep learning in Daba, Zindi, make use of those things, or even just internships that exist in these fields. So just progressing out of their STEM fields to upskill with data science. A little bit more about the hackathons. So typically run over 2 to 3 days. They consist of presentations by invited guests from industry and academia, and students or participants then work on guided project tutorials that we've put together on a variety of projects, which I'll talk about just now. And the teams then, participants then work in teams to tackle a task and present these results. We also encourage peer learning and developing these soft skills such as teamwork and leadership. And since this project started in 2017, there's been hackathons run in these countries, as well as 2 virtual hackathons, which were Pan-African. One reached, I think, 13 different countries in Africa. That was the one in partnership with the Space Generation Advisory Council, actually. Okay, so just a bit more about the kinds of projects that we've developed, or Anna-Scape's developed, and I've developed some of them. So they're a real mix of, commercial, astronomy, science-related, as well as development-related. So example of development-related is using, looking at health stuff with COVID-19 and looking at data from Twitter to do sentiment analysis. And then some fun ones like exploring, looking for these alien technosignatures, SETI, and then more commercial things like building movie and music recommendation apps and image classification as well. So at the end of our hackathons, we always ask for feedback and just some analysis of this feedback to look at whether it's actually having an impact on how the participants perceive or their future studies, or their future with regard to their studies or their career. And we find that a lot of them do feel that after doing the hack, they've been exposed to this material, and they now, it boosts their confidence to be able to go on and either study it further or look into careers in this field. I think a lot of them who said no in terms of the careers is because they were already sort of geared towards data science anyway. And just also looking at the comments that they leave behind, it highlights that this exposure does make it more accessible to them, and also highlights the great need for these kinds of interventions with data science for people who are keenly interested but don't know or don't have the opportunities to access it. All right, so I'm sure, I don't know if you heard from Melvin yesterday, but the project is coming to an end this year in September. So we've put together a strategy to make this program sustainable, and that's to allow for various institutions and groups to be able to run hackathons independently and work toward continued development of these hackathon projects that you can add to the GitHub repository so that people can continue to use them the way we have, and a network of alumni and things like that. So continued growth of tutors and trainers and organizers. And so what we're actually launching today at this AfAS conference is the availability of all the resources that we've used for these hackathons. So all the tutorials, the data, all the code, the sort of guidelines and things are now available. I'll just have a look at it. Oh, sorry. It was here. Now it's gone. Should I open it up again? Ah, there it is. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so this is a website where we've put all the resources on. It's still under development, so let us know if you have any suggestions of other useful resources to put on here. But for now, it's got requirements for holding this kind of sort of astronomy for development hackathon. A lot of guidelines in terms of the format of these events, selection of participants, and then we have all the projects. I still need to add a few more projects that are that we've developed tutorials for. So for example, if you go to the sentiment analysis project, it will take you to the GitHub with all the tutorials, and Python notebooks and data is all available here. We also have tutor training guidelines. So for the events, the hackathons are, we have tutor assistants always at each hackathon. And so to put on a hackathon, you need to train tutors with for their each respective project. So we've made these tutorials, videos on each tutorial to guide tutors on each project so that they're able to assist participants at the hack. And then a little bit about the hackathon task and various resources that we've put together. Darabig Data's put together some of useful resources in preparing for the hackathon with Python, etc. And learning about just the basics of machine learning. There's also a few recorded talks that we've put together from all the events that we've held and made these available so that if someone organizes a hackathon, they can play these talks there as well. Yeah, so, and just looking at how to advertise the event and, of course, feedback and networking after the event. So yeah, please have a look at these resources. If your groups or institutions would like to hold a hackathon and put it together, everything that you need should be available here to do so, and get in contact if you have any questions about it. Okay, back to my slide. No. Alt-Tab doesn't like me. All right. It's okay. There's just one. It's fine. I can just conclude without it. It's just a concluding slide. But yeah, the main takeaways is that data science skills development is very relevant, not only to tackle development problems in Africa, but so that Africans are equipped to face the fourth industrial revolution. And the main, takeaway is that these data science skills, there's a huge hunger amongst Africa's youth for these skills in order to upskill, and we should try to share these transferable skills from astronomy as much as we can. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Nikita. That was really good talk and very good summary of the resources. So any question from the room? Catherine, yes.
Okay, Nikita. I was just wondering how much you attempt to partner with industry people to make sure that your projects are kind of aligned with what potential employers might be interested in doing.
So yeah, good question. We haven't done that in the past, but if there is additional funding for the project to continue, that is something we should look at. We've had industry experts coming and giving their talks and things and networking with the participants, but in terms of the actual projects, I think we just focus on the basic exposure to basic skills in data science and machine learning, just sort of a initial exposure. So you're trying to bridge the gap, sort of targeting people who are not quite ready for entering programs or getting involved with deep learning in Dava, things like that, and working on those more advanced or accessing these more advanced opportunities, who need a little bit of coaching and direction and just boosting their confidence that they can actually, that this is accessible to them. Yeah, that's the focus of the projects.
Thank you, Nikita. I don't know if there is any, let me check participants. Is there any question? I don't see any raised hand. Okay. I suppose this is Carolina. Carolina, yes, go ahead. Quick question, yes.
Yes, thank you. Hi, thank you so much, Nikita. It's great to see that this is online, so I'll go and look at it. I just wanted to mention that this program of building data science skills using hackathons is not coming to an end. So we've partnered with Dara Big Data, Sareo, OED, and ourselves, IDEA. But we are going to continue this because IDEA has a cloud computing facility that has supported the event so far. And we've now got a data scientist on board and so on. So we are going to continue build up on what has been achieved so far. So this is, this is really great. And it's a great starting point with great experience that's been gathered so far. So thank you. I just wanted to add that.
Thank you, Carolina. Thank you, Nikita, once again. So we will now go to the next talk that will be given by Ingrid Stoffman from Karoo Development Foundation. And the talk will be about keep looking up, a journey to joy through rural community-based astrotourism in the Northern Cape. Okay, perfect. I will let you know when 2 minutes are left.
Hi everybody, my name's Ingrid Schurfman. I've been living in the Northern Cape in a little town called Loxton for the last 6 years, and have recently been asked to be part of a team that is developing the astrotourism strategy for Department of Science and Innovation. I was asked to come on board with this project because of my experience with rural development in the little town of Loxton. So I'm going to show you what we've done independently so far, and a proposal that we'd like to propose to develop the geoglyphs, which are earth drawings within the 5 to 6 tourism routes in the Northern Cape. I'm going to show you a little video to start off with. There we go. route. The Karoo Islands route stretches from Victoria West, Loxton, Fraserburg, which we have paleontology, dinosaur spoor tour, and then obviously Sutherland, where everybody knows what's happening in Sutherland currently. So it's to develop that along the route, there are tourism experiences that everybody can experience and partake of. I'm just going to, that's the still of it. So that's an aerial shot. We have artist residencies that also come annually to Loxton, and the building you see from the top is an old abattoir building, which we've used to actually do an artist intervention. And each artist that comes then interacts with that specific building and the children of the town and members of the cooperatives. The projects that run with the rabbit, as I call it, is the food security garden. They have a nursery, so we take children from the school and explain to them the importance of looking after environment. The local Loxton Laslappies, that's a needlework project. They make craft related to the rabbit, which they then sell to tourists who come. And then also they have recently, they're fully registered cooperative. They're registered with SARS, they have their own bank account, and they've recently done 3 big mask orders, one for Salga and UNDP, one for the local municipality, and one for the school. So they've become by themselves a sustainable little business that then is able to actually service the areas. They are busy at the moment doing samples for school tracksuits for the surrounding towns. Then the Loxton Community Garden, which is about food security. Mostly women have been drawn into this cooperative. What we did do, it's working with the Community Works project from the Department of Public Works. So different government departments can then engage with the Community Works project cooperatives. So this specific cooperative has recently got 2 boreholes from Department of Agriculture. The needlework project got from National Development Agency, they got needlework machines, they've got overlockers to enable, because they're compliant and they have proof that they're trying. So then Department of Rural Development can then also engage and actually come to Loxton, tick a box, and actually work together with other departments. So it's also, the needlework project got money from CEDA, or training from CEDA, the Loxton Re-cycling Cooperative. The buildings on the right-hand side was an example of what can be done with eco-bricks. Lolo and Gideon were kids who we incentivized to, if you bring eco-bricks, we got the tracksuit sponsored. If you bring 30 eco-bricks, you get, in exchange, you get a tracksuit. And then we're starting to see how we can actually, with the eco-bricks, build infrastructure for people who actually are living in shacks. That's a long-term project, which we need to also just get going more. The 4th cooperative is a Loxton Wool and Felting Cooperative, is to work with the emerging farmers on the commonage around Loxton. We've got 10,000 hectares of land around Loxton. And all these cooperatives then become tourism experiences when they visit Loxton. So my proposal is to, this is just the process of how we built the rabbit. The landscape was grids of 5 meters by 5 minutes, and then we did a surveying just to get sure we have a right angle. Then we actually literally drew ropes in the veld and then drew the rabbit onto the ground of a line, and then filled in the dots on those lines. During that time, we had a knowledge exchange within the community. People came from Outreach Foundation in Hillbrow. Kids had never left Hillbrow before, came and engaged with us in Loxton. And although there was a language barrier, through art, we found that you don't need language. Art speaks for itself. We also educated about the riverine rabbit, the endangerment of it. And all the art projects we did were all based with locals in Loxton during the time that we built the rabbit. This is Simpiwe and Sana. Sana can't speak a word of anything but Afrikaans. Simpiwe can't speak anything but Zulu. They sat for a week. Sana does crocheting and Simpiwe does embroidery. They exchanged their art their craft through just physicality, spending time together. These are the maker shakers who helped build the rabbit. These are all locals from Loxton who's still there. These are the custodians. They work weekly on a Friday to maintain now we've had a lot of rain, so to maintain the actual dots on site. And then they also kind of double up as if tourists come as guides on site just to share what their experience has been. It's also about local pride. These are the kids who kind of try and keep Loxton clean. That is like at the entrance of town where the rabbit is actually. So we strategically picked a spot in Loxton that would be accessible to tourists driving township area as well as the local town to kind of bridge a gap. These are the needlework ladies. They went walking the rabbit. This is the day after we launched it. We also, it's about creating art experiences for people. In the roof of the old abattoir, we drilled a hole in the rabbit, in the shape of the rabbit, and that rabbit walks across, as the sun moves, that rabbit walks across the wall of that building. We then, for a year, drew the spot, 12 o'clock, where the rabbit's eye was for a whole year, and then did the analemma of how the sun actually moves, and that is on the floor. So tourists come, they experience seeing the rabbit actually walking across the floor in sunspots, and then having to see how the sun has moved on over a period of a year. This is also some of the artist intervention. It's a derelict building, so we took rocks and egg white, and we try to simulate how rock art was done, and painted all the bush that the riverine rabbit eats, and the story of the riverine rabbit, and then the artist residencies, continual community interaction, recycling products, skills training that we've organized from people coming outside, and then the community festival where there's entrepreneurship being done. And then my big thing is to actually, the proposal is to, on all 5 or 6 routes in the Northern Cape, we need to keep looking up, we need to be positive, is to actually identify sites within the communities in the Northern Cape to then facilitate the growth of the route and community participation through drawings, but doing constellations that one can see from those sites. So reflecting constellations in the sky onto the ground in form of an earth drawing, and then people walking that constellation on the ground, and then actually at night having the astronomy experience of actually seeing the constellation that you did walked in the day, at night in the sky. And earmarked Kalahari Red Dune route, the Namaka coastal route, Karoo Highlands route, to do one at Sutherland, actually at Salt. The Go Garp route, which is a route that's been developed by the Karoo Development Foundation with Lotto funding, and then also on the Cape Namibia Richtersveld route on their World Heritage site. And these are the other things that spin off Karoo Highlands mountain bike, Gateway to the Galaxy. So I take cycle tours from Victoria, West Loxton, Fraserburg, Sutherland. And then in each town, we've got bike mechanics that we've identified, that we want to train up to do as bike mechanics. So when these tours do come through, there's a bit of an economic spin-off of that. These are the other projects we've done, completed projects in Matjiesfontein, which comes up through to Sutherland. So you can do that one first. And then the other one we did was in Namibia at AfAS, was the desert horse. This wasn't painted onto the ground with lime, salt, water mixture, so there's no interference into nature. We carried 4,244 rocks to depict that horse onto the Namibian desert, which you then see from the top of the mountain. So it's possibility of doing all sorts of things. And that's it.
Great, that was really impressive work, Ingrid. Thank you for sharing with us. Any questions from the public here or through the Zoom? Yes, Kevin, go ahead.
Yeah, cool. Congratulations. Awesome project. For the one in Loxton, like, is there a spot that that the community can stand to see the red?
Yes, there's as you come into Loxton, there's a basically a copy behind it along the R62.
Right.
So we're trying to find funding to put because you have to cross a main road. We've got to get signage and also to put one of those ladders because it's on borders the commonage. So there's no gate there exactly where you can climb up, but that's one of the proposals that we want to do. So it is more accessible from above as well as not just walking on it. Yeah.
Ingrid, and one quick question. Your proposal also, do you already have some small amateur telescopes that you can implement in the proposal?
That's kind of one of the things that, and also
that we want to do,
yeah.
Yes.
Kind of also,
And you have a good dark sky
yes,
from the sites that you
completely dark sky.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a doable thing.
Yeah.
And all those sites are pretty much at Mead and the Kalahari. It's also all those on route. There are mostly dark skies that are accessible for the nighttime activity.
Yeah, that's great. Let us thank Ingrid again. Okay, quick question. Quick question.
Just a comment. We'll give you a telescope.
Thank you.
Oh, that's excellent.
Thank you very much.
Good. So let us go to the next talk that will be given by Exodus Chun from Longseat, International Transmedia Astronomer, about dark sky protection without borders.
Okay, hello everyone. Could you hear me properly? Could you hear my voice? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Hello
we
everyone.
can.
So please wait for a while for
We don't see the
switching.
slides.
Okay.
No slides.
So okay.
Okay.
Okay. Hello everyone. Today I would like to share with you some case studies about the dark sky protections without borders. Considering there are a lot of approach, we talk about promoting sustainability and the awareness of climate change, and especially for astronomers or astronomy educator, we always usually overlook the importance of dark sky protections, especially for some regions that we are trying to raise the awareness of people, as we considering that the development in city may lead to some serious issues on light pollution. So today we'd like to share some case studies about the dark sky protections approaches in different places. So as there are a lot of problems about light pollution, especially in urban area. Remember, I have been to the North Africa many years ago in Tunisia, but comparing to Hong Kong, which is a place which is really serious in the light pollutions. And so today I'd like to share with you some approaches about some global projects on how we promote the awareness of light sky protections and popular science. So considering that Hong Kong, there are a lot of light pollutions problems, especially in some regions in the metropolis region. So you could see that it's almost 1,000 times to the standards of the dark sky park. Considering that there are a lot of dark sky parks or some national parks which is available for stargazing and available for conducting research on astronomical research or protecting the natural environment. But especially in some regions, we consider, which is more developed regions, we consider there will be a lot of light pollutions caused by the skyscrapers or buildings or unnecessarily use or designed or of some outdoor lighting. So as you can see that in Hong Kong, there are a series of light pollution, especially in urban area. So if we have a look from the space, you could see that it's really serious. Even we look at the space, you could clearly see that in the central city, there are a lot of urban lights, which is really which might cause some unnecessary issues to people. For example, including astronomical research, affecting some natural environments, affecting some life, animals or features, affecting the living qualities of people, especially the sleeping quality. So actually, there are some projects launched in different countries or places, which is the measurement of the light sky brightness. Actually, there's actually a project called the Sky Brightness Monitoring Network conducting in different countries. And it's actually started in Hong Kong as one of the most serious places on light pollutions. And the scientists in Hong Kong are trying to measure the actual brightness of different places in order to consider whether there would be some approaches, for example, some legal regulation or some policies in order to restrict the using of outdoor lighting. So actually, this is a project called the Light Sky Brightness Monitoring Network, NSN. It's actually a project launched in different countries and cities. And as a case in point in Hong Kong, you could see that it's really serious, which is 1,000 times comparing to the Dark Sky Park or some places which is available for stargazing or available for astronomy lovers to see the Milky Way galaxies in naked eye. So considering that there are a lot of, I would say, misuse of the artificial lighting in Hong Kong, especially when we're trying to organize some sidewalk astronomy or festival, you can see that there are a lot of unnecessary use of the outdoor lighting caused by the commercial centers or some buildings affecting the stargazing. Comparing to my experience many years ago in Tunisia, which is really good in an area to see the constellations and to guide people for the observation of astronomy. So it's really inspiring to have some outreach experience in other countries, which inspired me to conduct some research, especially in Asian countries or some developed cities or places. So you could see that in some places we call the skylight show, which is strongly affecting the observation of the sidewalk astronomy and the guidance of the people to know the light sky and to know more about the constellations. Another factors about the light pollution, which is the Skyglow, is actually a diffuse light source, a status of the diffuse light source affecting people living quality. And you can see that it's really bright. The whole sky is really bright, and all the light is easily reflected to the people living, and especially for people who are trying to launch some astronomical observation or research, it will be strongly affected. So usually people might try to go to some rural areas or country park in order to have some astronomical research. So more than that, we always talk about the transparency of the light sky pollutions or the gear of the light pollution, which is always affecting the light animals, especially, for example, firefly or some other endangered species. We always talk about the protection of light sky, also including the ecosystem, the environmental protective regions. So actually there were a lot of approaches for the dark sky protection. It's not only limited to some cities, but including some approaches to country park of people or people through online or virtual engagement. So the first one is setting up international dark sky park, which is really important, or might be helpful for people to be aware of the importance of dark sky protection, because actually there are a lot of really very good places for stargazing and for astrotourism, or encouraging people to engage in some stargazing parties or outreach. So it might be helpful if setting up international dark sky parks with government support and also with regionals, people's consensus and cooperation. It might be helpful for people to protect places in a sustainable way. So in Hong Kong, as a case in point, we do have a astro park as a protected regions for stargazing facilities, but it's still a long time to consider setting up a dark sky park. But probably in the future, with the government support or the NGO support, we may set up some protected regions, especially for the night sky observations or astrophotography or some astronomical research. So from personal behavior, actually, for the International Dark Sky Association, actually there will be 5 guidelines for people to be aware of from the personal consideration. For example, whether the setting of light is useful, whether it's target to the is direct to the ground. Consider the color of the lights. We consider whether there will be some support. We call the control technology in order to use it when necessary. So we can make reference from some guidelines or some standards or criteria from, for example, the United Nations Sustainability Development Goals. There are 17 elements for achieving sustainable life, or we're trying to promote popular science. For example, quality education, the climate action, partnership for the goals. Actually, there are a lot of guidelines which might be helpful if you try to consider some dark sky protective approach. More than that, we consider the promotion of the stargazing manner to motivate people to use the red light, or being aware of the using of the lighting, the outdoor lighting, or using artificial lights, especially for stargazing experience. More than that, for International Astronomical Union, actually there will be a project called the Dark Sky for All project, which is started by the IAU 100. It's actually an approach for gathering dark sky defender or astronomers to launch some approaches in the community or in the society to raise people awareness of dark sky protections. So in next month, in April, actually there will be an International Dark Sky Week. So I haven't updated, but it should be 2022. But it's also occur in April 2022. So it's actually a project called the International Dark Sky Week. Okay, sorry. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
So more than that, there will be a citizen scientist project we call the Sky Brightness Monitoring Network, the Globe at Night, encourage people to engage for the dark sky protection. Bottle scale, which might be really helpful for people to consider some guidelines to measure the brightness of light sky. So it's all of my sharing. If you have any questions, please feel free to scan the QR code or email me for more information about the dark sky protective approach. Thank you.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you very much, Exodus, for the presentation and also for joining us from Hong Kong. So are there any questions? Maybe also in the chat. I saw that there is, can we open from here? In the chat. Okay, I cannot see the chat. It's okay. We have lost the sound. Okay, I think that was before. So any question? Yes, please, Ingrid.
As a dark sky for different countries throughout the world, are the regulations all the same, or are they specific for the site that is applying? Or because obviously sometimes different geographical areas or weather can play a role. So how does one, if I live in a dark sky like I do, how do I apply for that without breaking the bank, basically?
Okay, so actually they are not I would say only the only guidelines for all the dark sky approach, but actually they will be setting up a new, we call the international committee for different countries, different regions. Actually selected some international committees which will be helping people for different continents. So actually they have some regulations, or they will have some approaches designed based on the region's people's needs. So as I've mentioned, for the simple guidelines is actually for the promotion materials for people to be aware of. But actually, if we talk about the law regulation or some more restricted approaches, please feel free to connect with our international committee. There will be some advice for us, because we are always usually having discussion or conversation with the board of directors. So we truly wish to promote it for different people in different continents and regions. Thank you for your question.
Thank you, Exodus. I don't see any question on the Zoom. So one quick question: how far away do you have to go from Hong Kong to see the Milky Way?
Oh, it's actually probably more than 30 kilometers, but because Hong Kong is really small, it's really small. So
Yes.
we have to travel to a relatively long places.
Really
but
far, yes.
yeah,
Yes.
more than 2 hours for because we don't have not many people have driving cars, so we usually get there by some special vehicles or the public transportation.
Thank you once again. Let us thank Exodus once again. And now we will go to the next and the last talk for this session that will be given by Daniel Kunama here from SAO about the cosmic savanna, bringing African astronomy to the forefront. I will let you know when 2 minutes are left.
Yeah. Okay, let me just fix that quickly.
I'll start when all the technical issues are done. Yeah, you can see. I'm not cheating.
So let me just get to your first slide and then just the arrows. Yes. Keeps disappearing now.
Okay, that should work, no?
Right, thank you very much. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Daniel Kunama, and today I just want to talk about one of the projects we've been running, podcast. Sorry, microphone. I'll stand here. Okay. Hi again to everyone online. So talking into the mic now. So my name is Daniel Kunama, and I want to talk a little bit about our podcast, The Cosmic Savannah, which was started by myself and a colleague, Jacinta Del Hayes, a few years ago. And while we did it, oh, there we go, I can swap. Okay, cool. So just a brief outline. I'll talk about what a podcast is, if you're not already aware, why we chose African astronomy and communications, then what is the Cosmic Savannah and how did we create it, talk a little bit about some of the outcomes, and one of the outcomes being some training which we've run over the last couple of years. So who we are, my name is Daniel Kunama. As I said, I'm the science engagement astronomer here at the South African Astronomical Observatory, so I'm responsible for a lot of the media and communications. And my colleague and co-host, co-producer is Jacinta Del Hayes, who is a lecturer at the University of Cape Town. So a podcast is a series of downloadable audio episodes. It's similar to a radio, except that you can download them wherever you are. They're stored online at a podcast hosting company, and you can subscribe on any sort of platform. So on Spotify or Apple Music, or we're even on YouTube now. Wherever you get your podcasts, you'll be able to subscribe, get notified of new episodes as they come out. And a podcast is relatively cheap to produce. So and a very easy way to consume media. So a lot of people more and more people are consuming podcasts. I listen to podcasts a lot in the car while I'm driving, and they're just very easy to consume. It's a good way of getting information across. Why did we choose African astronomy and communications? One of the main reasons was to just try and challenge this perceived pessimism towards Africa and African science. I think that everyone here realizes and is well aware of the incredible things which are happening in astronomy. in Africa, and things which will be happening in the next coming decades. And we wanted to basically share that with the world, not just with Africa, but around the world. Give a voice to African astronomers and African astronomy, and just try and get that out there. And then, of course, just to share education, to encourage critical thinking, and just get people engaged in the scientific dialogue. So why did we choose a podcast? I already mentioned some of this. There's a very low barrier to entry firstly for producing it. It can be done on a very small budget. There's no need for video or anything. You can actually we do some serious editing to make it really nice, but you don't have to. A lot of podcasts are quite simple, and they just recorded straight, so quite easy to create. It's incredibly intimate. If you haven't listened to podcasts before, it really feels like somebody's in the room with you, and you form quite a strong relationship with the person you're talking to. It can get quite emotional and deep. So that's quite a nice like aspect of podcasts. And then, as I mentioned already, it's easy to download. You can download it onto your phone. All the files are available, so you don't have to listen through a platform. You can download the MP3 and listen whenever you like, wherever you like. And the files are very small too, so not more than 100 megs each. So the Cosmic Savannah, we started in April 2019, and what we focus on is all aspects of African astronomy. So researchers, discoveries, instruments, indigenous astronomy, outreach, projects which are happening in Africa, people who are in Africa, and anything to do with astronomy happening in Africa or by Africans. The podcasting scene is very small in Africa compared to, say the US or Europe, where there are huge podcasts with massive followings. But ours is growing, and I think that in general, the podcast audience is growing across Africa. So there's a huge opportunity here. And as I mentioned, you can find the podcast. You can see us on our website or on social media, and you can find us wherever you get your podcast on whatever app you're on. The format, we have fortnightly episodes, which are around 30 to 60 minutes, depending on how long Jacinta and I rattle on for, or the interviewer. We have seasons of about 13 episodes. We're on our 4th season now, and we have either 1 or 2 guests, depending on the topic and the conversation. On our website, we have show notes and transcripts, which is quite important. So we generate transcripts for each of the podcasts now, and then we upload those to our YouTube channel. So you can go to the YouTube channel and listen along with subtitles on, and Google will translate it. It's not perfect translation, but Google can translate that into over 100 different languages, including African languages. So that's a great way to listen to the podcast. You can follow along in your own language, and that's very exciting, and we're pretty proud of being able to achieve that now. Creating transcripts is a little bit hard work, but we're on top of it now. Just briefly how we did it. Jacinta and I didn't have any professional training. We were just very interested. We enjoyed podcasts. We initially funded it ourselves. We managed to get a small recorder through the observatory. Now we've managed to get funding from the UCT Astronomy Department for some of our hosting platforms, and also SASTA, who's covering the editing and transcription these days. So it started off really small, and there's some of the details which I won't go into in terms of how exactly we do it. Some of the sort of outcomes, we've had 4 seasons, as I mentioned. We're over 50 episodes now, as well as 8 mini episodes, which I'll talk about in a moment. Over 35 hours of content we've produced, and we've tried to focus on not just astronomy but some other worthy causes. We did a program on rhino conservation. We did one on the Astro Molo project down here in Cape Town, which provides education programs for little girls. We've got a collaboration with Astronomers Without Borders, And we've also had attention from radio stations and TV. We've got government support now in terms of funding, and last year we were a finalist in the South African Science Oscars in the Communication Award category, which is pretty exciting. In terms of our reach, we have listeners all over the world. We've got 129 countries which we've had listeners in. The majority are actually in the USA, which is quite cool, actually. Again, that's affected by the amount of podcasting that happens in the US. But 16% in South Africa, and we've had some really high ranks on the astronomy podcasts, both in South Africa, Australia, and the US. We've been in the top 10 there, which is also pretty cool. And now we get republished, our episodes get republished or syndicated on the 365 Days of Astronomy podcast. So in total, we're looking at about 140,000 downloads we've had. In terms of our guests, we've had now in total 89 guests across the 51 episodes. 43% of them were women and 56 black or of color, and 76% of them based in Africa or African. So that is obviously something which, as I said, we focus really, really hard on trying to promote African astronomy. And we've done that at all levels. So we don't just speak to professors. We've got high school students and sort of anyone who's involved in astronomy, and then a wide range of research areas. So anything that's happening. These are just some quotes from the listener feedback which we've received. During COVID, I think we had a massive spike in listenership, which I think was wonderful, allowing people to sort of still get their news and information in this sort of COVID-friendly way. And then also during COVID, we ran a podcasting bootcamp where we had 10 astronomy postgrad students from South Africa, and we did 7 2-hour sessions. And we trained them in everything it takes to run a podcast. So we trained them in science communication, how to do interviews, how to host, how to edit. And then at the end of that, they had to record an interview with one of the other students, edit it themselves, and produce a little mini episode, of which we produced 8. And then we published those in an inter-season break on the podcast. So that was really, really cool. And then just last week, we ran a workshop with SASTA, an online workshop where we had 60 South African scientists. And then this wasn't actually limited just to astronomers. So we had people from marine biology, we had nuclear physicists, we had all sorts of people joining the podcasting workshop, and just trying to give them an overview of what it takes to run a podcast. So, and we will be running that again in the future. So that's just a brief overview. And if you want to get in touch with us, if you have an interesting project that you'd like to pitch for the podcast, if you have any comments or feedback, it would be greatly appreciated. You can see our email address there, and otherwise our personal email addresses and Twitter, where you're welcome to get in touch. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Daniel. That was really excellent, and congratulations for the award.
Thank you.
I was not aware of that. Okay, so now we can see. Okay, perfect. So we have time for 1-2 questions. Are there any questions here in the room?
I did a very quick overview.
Everything was very clear. Any question? Okay, perfect. Niruj, yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks, Daniel. It's a fantastic program, the podcast, of course, and it's kind of it's nice to see it growing more and more, both in terms of region and topic. I had 2 questions. One is it viable to popularize the podcast on the very, very local community radios? And the second question was, how do we, especially in the context of the GA 2024, what are some of the ways in which we can popularize the podcast to other countries in Africa?
Thanks, Niruj. So in terms of the community radio stations, that's something we actually have done. We distribute the MP3s to SASTA, who have a youth journalist program, and they provide content for community radio stations. So we have been sending those. Some of them have played, some of them haven't. The one challenge we are facing is obviously the language. A lot of the community radio stations are not in English. But again, with our partnership with SASTA now, this is something which we're continuing to do, and we're looking at other ways of doing this. So, we haven't quite got to the point of translating entire podcasts, but we have spoken about it. In terms of promoting the podcast, that is a challenge and something which, again, we are actively thinking about how we could do this better. Whether we do paid promotions. One of the ways we are doing it at the moment is actually cross promotions. So Jacinta and I have talked on other astronomy podcasts, and in that way you already have an engaged audience, and then you mention your podcast, and hopefully you you gain some subscribers like that. The 365 Days of Astronomy podcast has been incredible for that, and we've had a lot of people subscribing to us through that. But yeah, always open to ideas on how we can communicate it better.
Perfect. Thank you, Daniel and Niruj, for the question as well. Any other question in the room or here on the chat? I don't see any other. I have a quick one. Well, one thing is that I really appreciate the diversity. I appreciate that you try to interview different people in terms of gender, age, and status in their professional career. That's really great. Do you have any activities with the kids? Because, as you said, I mean, in future, this will be, it's the way to go, no? So, are there any activities that you are trying to promote, among the primary, secondary school kids, the podcasts?
Yeah, so at the moment we haven't run any programs directed at kids. The podcast itself is targeted at high school level and up. So our audience, or our target audience, is the sort of interested public. So we assume some basic knowledge of astronomy or interest in astronomy, and we do explain concepts. If an interviewee doesn't explain something very well, we do it in the intro or outro. But the level of the podcast is still relatively high. But I think that's also an area which we can expand, making shorter, sharper, more educational snippets, I think would be very, very successful.
Maybe also another thing is doing a certain topics.
Yes,
under
yeah.
a specific topic, you have several people that you interview.
Yeah. So for the eclipse, actually, we did one with Niruj. It's sort of a more educational about the eclipse and what it's going to be. So yeah, when topics like that pop up, then it's an excellent opportunity to communicate.
Exactly. Great. Let us thank everyone's once again, all the speakers. Thank you, Daniel. And now we will have a short break, and then Sarah will take over in about 10 minutes. No, Charles?
It's a very short break. In fact, you got like almost 7 minutes before.
Yeah, 10 minutes. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.